But if there is a favorite to finish in the top two, it would be 27-year-old Josh Davis, triple gold medalist from the 96 Olympics. Most golds, Rowdy, by any American man at those games.
You know, I have seen Josh Davis take a lot of races out very fast, but I've never seen Josh take it out that fast.
And he's still ahead of world record pace at the half mark. Davis looks like he's going to win it, and Davis sets an American record. He breaks a 12-year-old mark. What a swim for Davis.
Welcome to the Ultimate Swimmer Podcast. I'm your host, three-time Olympic gold medalist and captain of the 2000 USA team, Josh Davis. Here at Ultimate Swimmer, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you to be the very best version of you, physically, mentally, and spiritually, on your swimming journey. This podcast is geared primarily for those of us in the aquatic disciplines of age group swimming, college swimming, para swimming, open water swimming, and master swimming. But we welcome all who are interested in peak performance, pursuing excellence, and swimming with purpose. So whether you are just starting out in the pool or you've been swimming your entire life, you were born for the water, and you were also born for greatness. So each week we will explore the 7 core habits of achieving greatness that will help take you to the next level in your journey to becoming an ultimate swimmer. This episode is brought to you by Breakout Swim Clinics, the longest-running swim clinic tour of swimming Olympians in U.S. history. Breakout Swim Clinics has been providing swim clubs with the biggest Olympic names for the best prices with gold medal service since 1997. Go to breakoutswimclinic.com and bring some of their great Olympians to your team to help your swimmers break out. Bigger names, better prices, gold medal service. Break out with the best. breakoutswimclinic.com. Hey everybody, welcome to the Ultimate Swimmer Podcast Show. I'm your host, Josh Davis, and I'm super excited about this week's guest. She's a national champion. She's a world champion, 3-time gold medalist at Pan Am's, and a bronze medalist at the recent Tokyo Olympics, and one of the fastest breaststrokers of all time, a true ultimate swimmer. Welcome to the show, Annie Lazor. Welcome, Annie.
Hi, thanks for having me, Josh.
I love your name. My daughter, one of my 3 daughters is named Annie. So it's a fun.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right, a fun but tough name. And
yeah.
So anyway, so I'm really glad to get to talk to you. I loved watching you at trials. I loved watching you in Tokyo. And you and I met, a year or 2 ago. But I really didn't know much about your, childhood swimming and high school and college swimming. So I'm really curious to get to hear your story. And I know everybody else is too. So tell us about your first experiences with swimming and falling in love with water, and maybe something that your coaches and parents did well back in your childhood that kind of set you on a good trajectory.
Yeah. So I started my swimmer at our local summer athletic club across the street from my neighborhood. That's where I learned how to swim. That's where I joined my first swim team. That's where I swam a 25 across the pool for the first time. And I joined it mainly because I watched my older brother do it for 2 years before I was allowed to join the team. So I was going to his meets for 2 years until I was 5. And when you're 5, you're allowed to join the team. So I was really eager to start, really eager to swim. And as I got, a little bit older than 5, like 7 or 8, and I started to improve a little bit, that was just something that was so fun for me. And my family was we're all kids, all of us kids are pretty competitive. So I loved getting in and, swimming as fast as I could. So that's kind of where my sport started. And honestly, that's where my roots of the sport stayed for a really long time. Even as I got older, you're allowed to swim at that summer club until you're 18. So basically until you go to college, you're allowed to swim for your local summer club. And even as I, got older and won my first state title when I was 12, I think. And then I made my first junior nationals when I was maybe 15 or 14, and was going to really big meets on my own. I made my my Olympic trials cut when I was 15 and went to my first trials when I was 17. That was one constant in my life that I loved, that I was able to keep a part of my swimming career for as long as I could, because that's where my career started. That's, where I feel most at home. And so it was really great to be able to do my summer club swimming until I was 17, until I went off to college. And I'm really grateful to, my family, my parents for encouraging me to continue to do the part of sport that was the most fun to me. Because when I got older and into high school, I was on a small club team. I went to a lot of these big meets by myself, which means I trained for a lot of these big meets by myself. And that makes swimming is very hard. It's a hard sport. And so, especially when you're doing it by yourself, a lot of the time, it makes it a lot harder than it really needs to be, than it already is. So I'm so grateful to my parents for just encouraging me and supporting me when I'm saying like, hey, like, this is the fun part of the sport. Like, I know I'm not going to go to these practices every day. Like, I'm still going to go to my club practices, but like, I'd still like to go to these meets. I'd still like to go to our summer club finals. Like, even though that's not my biggest competition of the summer, I went to my summer club finals the same year I went to my first Olympic trials when I was 17. So like, but it was still like, I didn't care, like it was something that that was the part of the sport that I loved. And I had some tough times in high school where I really like struggled with my love for the sport. So to be able to keep that and have my parents support me to do even the little parts of the sport that seemed big when I was younger, but then were smaller as my career progressed was really something that I really appreciate in their parenting in the sport with me.
I love that you stayed connected to the summer league. And does Detroit suburbs have some pretty good summer league action? It sounds like it.
Yeah, they do actually. So we have 3 different leagues. There's 2 leagues that are like country leagues, and one is much smaller and one's a little bit bigger. And then mine was like the swim club type of club, like not really country club vibe. Like, so that was my club. That was my league. And we had some really fast swimmers come out of there. We had quite a few go swim at Michigan, at Stanford. Myself, I went to go swim at Ohio State and Auburn. And we actually had some really good swimmers come out.
Yeah. I love Summer League. That's how I got started in San Antonio, Texas. And we have about 3 or 4 leagues, with each league having about 20 teams, so it's pretty like 60, 70 teams all across the city. And it's just, it's awesome. Yeah.
We probably have about like maybe over 30. Yeah. Maybe 30. Like that's a lot, especially for a cold state, like, because when it's summer there, like everyone wants to take advantage of cold like 6 months out of the year. So that was something that everyone really like valued a lot in my area.
I need to confirm this, that Katie Ledecky did her summer league up until she was like 14, 15 as well. And she was already crazy fast.
That who did?
Katie Ledecky.
Oh yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Obviously, she was much better than me at 15. Like, she won a gold medal when she was 15. But like people, like, I heard some stories of people, like when I ended up making like the national junior team when I was, in high school and whatever. Like, I had heard of people, my friends around the country, who were obviously very good, like some of the top recruits in the country, who were like discouraged by their community of doing high school teams and summer club teams because they thought they were good and they were coming just to like, win everything. And I'm so lucky that that's so sad to me. Like, I'm so lucky that I had an environment and a community that like just loved swimming. And so when there was people who were really successful in the sport, they wanted to watch those people. They wanted to see them swim. And it was really great. It was my one time really a year where I could connect with like 8 to 10-year-olds and like they could see like, hey, I was and now I'm here. Like, yes, you can do this too. Like, it's really great that like my community saw that was such a really unique thing for swimming,
It was good for your soul just to kind of be back home and so to say in the summer league, but it was inspiring for the young ones to see what's possible. And I love that they didn't limit it. So here's a crazy story. My summer league, my son went back and did my old summer league. He's now 20. He's a swimmer at Missouri. And they have the summer league. They have the summer league championships at the Josh Davis Swim Center.
My gosh.
It's crazy. So my son, he was 13 and he hadn't started club yet, but he was really fast. And the rules said if you have a certain time, you can't race, but he never swam club. But they kicked him out of the meet. They pulled him aside right before the first relay. They said, you're not allowed to race because you're too fast. And they kicked my son out of the meet at the pool they named after me. Isn't that terrible? Because some of the summer leagues have those rules. They say, well, if you get too fast, you can't compete. And it's like, are you kidding me? Just you're penalizing the kid because he's too fast?
Because he loves the sport, he wants to improve in it, so he's doing what he can to. That's ridiculous. That
I know.
Yeah, I'm so lucky that I was in a community that like supported that and just wanted visibility in that. Honestly, like a few weeks ago when I was home after the Olympics, they welcomed me back to my athletic club, and it was kind of a really nice full experiment. So yeah, I'm really lucky to have had the community that I had.
So tell me about high school. Did you have a pretty good balance of club and high school? Did the coaches kind of work together, or was it a little drama? Or, what was, obviously you were going to some big meets for the club, but what was high school like for you? Yeah.
So thankfully and luckily, high school swimming in my area, for the most part, a lot of the schools in my area had high school coaches who knew what they were doing. So I went to a school that had some really school coaches, and they were not my club coaches. I had a different club coach, and he actually coached at a different high school at the time. But I fully trained with my high school team during the high school season. That was a rule because our coaches, they were knowledgeable about swimming. Like they knew what they were doing. And so, there were some scenarios where at schools where the coaches maybe weren't as knowledgeable and a kid was at a really good club team where the kids could just like show up to the high school meets and not train with the team. And that was not the case at my high school. My coaches did not allow that. They said you're either training with the team and you're swimming in the meets with the team, or you're not swimming here. Like, tough crap. Like that's how it is. Yeah. So, but thankfully I had great coaches in high school. So, it was a really like seamless transition. That was some of my hardest training in high school, to be honest, was high school swimming. So, was lucky in that aspect. However, I enjoyed my high school swimming more than I enjoyed my club swimming because, in high school swimming, all my friends were doing it. That's really like the 4 months of the year that like my really close friends were taking swimming seriously. So like once they were in shape, I like asked people to like train with, and it was nice. Like I was still definitely probably the best on the team, but I had a really great team. Our team was still pretty good. We were like top 3 in the state. I think most years I was there. I think pretty much every year I was there. I'm not sure though, but so I was lucky in that aspect. Also, going back to my club after high school was a little bit difficult because I had a coach there that had kind of a high attrition rate with swimmers. And so I didn't have an amazing relationship with him and saw a lot of times that, maybe I can, really think about it more in my head and kind of figure out like why that is, but the past is the past. But, there was a lot of times where I felt there was a lot of girls from the private school that my club coach coached in high school. And I felt a lot of times he treated them a lot differently than he treated me. And I was the one that was going to practice every morning, every night. I was the one that was at practice the most. I was the most successful swimmer on the team. And like, he just had different standards for me than he had for other people, which I think is a great thing because he really saw a lot of potential in me, which I think is great. But there were a lot of times where those expectations kind of went over the line. And that was something that was really hard for me and really hard for my parents as well, because honestly, like within driving distance, within a 45-minute driving distance, there weren't really other clubs in my area to choose from. And I was still swimming well. So like, I guess if it's not broken, don't fix it kind of thing. But It wasn't the great relationship or the healthiest thing for me mentally now that I look back on it. And yeah, it was tough. Like, it was really tough. And that was thing that I really valued when I started looking at schools when I went to college, was like, I want a great relationship with my coach. I feel like I can talk to them about anything, where I feel like they can meet me halfway. Cause like, I know I work hard. I know that I want to be good. And, you know, I want a coach that values that and will push me, but also can like talk to me and like we can have a good relationship. So that was something that like I struggled with a lot in high school, but I was really thankful that I had a great high school program to fall back on, that I had that to kind of break club swimming for 4 months of the year. I was really lucky to have that.
I appreciate you sharing that, because there's a lot of people that are going through something similar, where it's just not the perfect setup. There are some strains and, you know, some struggles, but we get through it. We learn, we talk to our parents, we constantly figure out, okay, should I stay? Should I go? Should I see it through? Should I move? You know, and so, and there's no right answer. Each season is different. Each person is different. Each setup of what your options are different. But I just appreciate you sharing that and being vulnerable like that, because you're not alone in that journey. But tell me your best time in high school in the 100 breast and 200 breast. Do you remember your yards times?
I do. Yeah. So I actually hit quite a plateau in my 100. I actually didn't drop time, short course yards in my 100 breast from when I was 15 until I was a junior in college.
Oh,
so
really?
I hit 5 in that race. Yeah.
What was your time that you were plateaued on?
So when I was 15, this was in 2010, I went 101 in the 100 breast. And that got me 3rd at junior nationals.
Yeah.
That was 101 was really fast in 2010.
Yeah. So you were like, yeah.
More, but it was really fast in 2010. Girls in high school are going 58, 59 now. Like, it's insane. And then all of a sudden my junior year, I kind of went under new coaching and really decided to like commit 110% to what I was doing. I like gained the freshman 15, freshman 20, whatever it might be. And I just decided to commit to like living a healthier lifestyle in college, and, you know, finally got really fit again, and ended up going from that time when I was 15 down to 59.5 my junior year. Yeah. And I think I repeated that my senior year. And then in the 200, I went 211 in high school, which also, like, I think is still pretty good now, I think. And then I think in college, I got down to 207. That's
great. So I was just curious, just kind of give people a snapshot of where you were in high school, what your times were like. So that's really good.
Yeah, like, I was good in high school, but I wasn't the best breaststroker in our class by any stretch of the means. We had one girl who had been 59 in the 100 breast, which was crazy. You know, I was a very, like, for the top schools in the country, like the Stanfords and the USCs and the Texas, like, I think Texas maybe offered me 25%. Yeah. Stanford offered me like 50%. USC offered me 50%. Like, a lot of the top programs were at max offering me 50%.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And so you ended up choosing Ohio State. Can you kind of give us the synopsis of what you were looking at and then why you chose Ohio State? Yeah.
So, if I'm being totally honest, like, kind of going back to my, you know, like, rigid relationship with my club coach, no one really helped me in my college recruiting process, if I'm being totally honest. Now we jump almost 10 years later now, and now Ohio State, at least on the women's side, is winning Big Tens. They're an amazing program. But when I got there, it was only the coach's maybe second or third year there. And he was still trying to build his own program. When he took over the program, the women were maybe like 9th in the Big Ten. So it was definitely a program he was trying to build. And I just like looked at schools and, you know, top 25 and like in the Midwest, and my brother went to Ohio State. So I visited there. I really liked it. They gave me a great scholarship. So I really liked the coach. And so I was like, yeah, like I'll go to Ohio State, but neither of my parents swum in college. So they didn't know what they were doing. Neither of my brothers played college athletics. So I was the only one who went through this. And something that I really look back on and like wished that it was different, that relationship with my club coach, was that he knew a lot about college swimming. Like he had a son that swam at Florida, and, you know, like he didn't really help me that much in the process. And I really wish I had more help from people who knew a lot more about the college swimming experience, on not just what good programs were, but just like on what would be a good fit for me as a person during that point in my life. So it was a great experience. I learned so much about myself, but just where that program was at that point, like 10 years ago, I was wanting to make the national team. I was wanting to hopefully make the national team, make finals at nationals, at world champ trials, whatever. And that wasn't really where that program was at the time. So I decided to transfer, and I went to Auburn. And I had an amazing experience there. I still have coaches to this day from Auburn that I talk to like on a weekly basis. I love them, and teammates as well too. I love my teammates from Auburn. And it was definitely like the college experience and the college swimming experience that I was looking for. And just like the family that I've gotten from that team was like what I was looking for the whole time when I was swimming by myself and my club team trying junior nationals and Olympic trials, when, you know, people were all taking breaks because they weren't going to those meets. So I had to train by myself. Like that's what I was looking for in team. I'm really thankful that I got that.
Yeah. Did y'all use the outdoor pool at Auburn very much?
Oh, yes.
That's so nice.
Basically from the day after NCAAs in March, and like throughout the whole summer, obviously September, maybe until like Thanksgiving.
Oh, nice.
We died probably half the time. It's just the only thing is that the short, like it's 10 lane, 50 meters. So because it's 10 lanes, the short way is 25 yards. So that's the only reason why we come inside sometimes, but we tried to use the outdoor pool as much as we could.
That's cool. Yeah, Auburn's a fun campus, and a lot of tradition there. Obviously, a lot of great swimming tradition. So I love that pool too, and I have great memories there. So now I want to talk about how you ended up in Indiana. And actually, real quick, any epic college races that you want to mention that were kind of fun for you? Like any cool moments in your breaststroke or relays that at either Ohio State or Auburn or at NC2As or SECs that kind of stick out like that? This was a pretty cool moment. I want to tell you about this.
Yeah. So one that really sticks out to me is, and this definitely not like a defining race in my career or anything like that, but the one race that really sticks out to me the most is, there's a couple races I had with this girl that I really enjoyed. She was this girl, she's from New Zealand, and she came to Auburn. She was a year younger than me. We were the two best breaststrokers on the team, and we were kind of trading off relay spots a lot. But we just kind of, there was never any like weirdly, because, you know, swimmers are so competitive. Like when you swim the same races, sometimes it can get a little awkward. There can be a little animosity, but like when we just started training there, we just really clicked. And it's really awesome to be able to swim next to someone who's like swimming the same thing as you, doing just as much as you, but you want success for them as much as you want it for yourself because you see what they do every day. I think that's what's so amazing about college swimming, like scoring points like for your school and for your team. That's just so unique to anything else. So my senior year, her year, prelims of the 100 breast at SECs, we swam next to each other. I think I was seated maybe second or third, and she was right next to me, like the next highest seed. And I went a time that I'd been a bunch of times before. maybe 59.5, 59.4, or something like that. Like did what I needed to do to like get to the final. And I look up and I'm like, oh, okay, like I did what I needed to do. And I looked at her time and took a minute for the first time.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I think that was my favorite race of my whole career, because just to see her like elation and her excitement over that, like to be able to share that with her, with someone that you have just seen work every single day and has also pushed you to be your best every single day. That was probably my favorite race, my college career. And I know it was like a prelims race, like, but just that emotionally is the one that I probably remember the most. It was really awesome to be able to share that moment with her. One that I know that she feels like was probably one of her best races of her career. So that's probably what I remember the most.
I love it. And that's exactly probably what Lily would say about you and you guys' relationship. You know, you had two relationships like that in your training, in your history.
Yeah, I did. And with Lily, like, obviously she's like arguably the most competitive person I've ever met, you know, like she wants to win. So for us to get to that level, like she would agree with me. It took a long time for us to get to that point where like we could put like the competitiveness aside and say like, I see what you do every day. And you see what I do every day. And you're the reason why I'm so good. And I'm the reason why you're so good. So let's make each other better. And we know that no matter what happens, like we both deserve to do great things because we work so damn hard, you know, like, excuse my language, but it's true. So it's a long time for us to get to that point. You know, it just makes our relationship that much better because like we haven't faked any feelings about each other, you know what I mean? And so it just made this summer and those experiences with her that much better, honestly, just knowing that like we have really worked at our relationship to make it what it is. And so to be able to experience those once in 10 million lifetime experiences with her was pretty special. Yeah.
To be on the podium together and to know y'all's history together for the previous years, it's incredible. And we'll talk about that in a second. But real quick, kind of a tricky question. You got your high school training philosophy. You had your Ohio State training, what you did there. You had what you did at Auburn, and then what you did with Indiana with Ray Lewis and the gang the last few years. Are they similar? Are they all four completely different? Can you put them in a category and describe them briefly? And
So my training at Ohio State, honestly, like it's like 10 years ago. So I am like did not really remember it very well.
Just long and hard.
My swimming IQ, my freshman year of college, was not very high. Like I didn't know that much I thought I knew a lot about swimming, but I was a big fish in a small pond where I lived. So I thought I knew a lot and I really didn't. So I had a lot to learn. My freshman year at Ohio State, I trained a lot of distance. I trained a lot of like mile pace kind of stuff, which I'm so bad at. Super bad at. So I did a lot of stuff that I'm not very good at. And similarly now at Indiana, I also do a lot of stuff I'm not very good at. So like for me at Indiana right now, we have like, I do 9 to 10 practices a week. And 4 of those practices, I do breaststroke oriented stuff. I do breaststroke practice on Monday, like 200 breaststroke practice. I do a lactate practice on Wednesday, which I always choose to do breaststroke because what else do I race nowadays? I have another breaststroke practice on Thursday that is 100 breaststroke oriented with our breaststroke group with Ray. And then on Saturday, we have long course 200 pace practice, which, you know, everyone does like the same practice. But again, I do breaststroke because that's what I do. So those practices, I thrive. And everywhere else, I am in the lane. Like I am Like I used to train so well at Auburn. Like I trained with John Hargis, who was my coach for like 3 or 4 years. And I used to train so well for him. Like on my senior year of college, I can maybe remember like 3 or 4 bad days that I had a whole year.
Wow.
Like I could train really well. And as you get older, that just changes. And so, especially like got older and was adjusting to that. My breaststroke practices were getting better and better and better, but everything else was getting a little bit worse, honestly. And so just like trusting myself as an athlete and being patient with my body and making adjustments to what my body needed as I was transitioning into my professional career and well into my professional career. That was something that required a lot of patience. And I'm not a very patient person. So that was something that I've learned a lot through this transition to training at IU, where it is a lot of yards and the practices are high quality and high volume. It's a lot. And then, I do these terrible 7,000 yard threshold freestyle on Tuesday night. And then I have to wake up Wednesday morning and put on a racing suit and go off the blocks fast. Like that's what I'm dealing with. So for me, like recovering so much more out of the pool in my professional career has definitely been the difference maker between my training in college and my training as a professional.
Yeah. Thanks for answering that. Can you think of the craziest set you've ever done?
The craziest set I've ever done.
Something that sticks out, or maybe there's a marker test set that emerges, in your style.
On paper, it doesn't, it's still a really hard set, but the set that I remember, the hardest time with that I'm not a crier in practice. Like I think when the goggles go on, like it's time, that's kind of my mentality. And I was like that in college too, but John gave us this practice one time. I think it was my junior year. John can write a wicked IM practice. Like those Mondays and Thursday afternoons, I could not nap between classes just because I was so nervous for that 400 IM practice. He can, even though he was like a little sprinter in college, like 100 high, like he writes a wicked IM practice. So the one that I remember the most, and I'm not sure if I have this completely correct, I remember is that after the set, he and Demaray Christensen, who are my 2 main coaches at Auburn, told us after the set that they wrote the set as a joke and then just decided to give it to us. That's the part I remember the most because I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like it's a joke and still gave it to us? Anyway, the men did the whole set. It was an IM set. They did the whole set on 1 minute base per 100, and the women did it on 105.
Oh my gosh.
That's a hard freestyle set.
And no fins?
No fins. That's a hard freestyle set. We did IM. So I think it was like a couple of 50s, like maybe 3 50s, like IM, like fly back breast free. A couple of 75, like 2 75s, like at red freestyle, and then 100 IM all. And then the same 350s, and then 2 100s freestyle red, and then a 200 IM all out. Mm-hmm. This is all on 105 base for the women, 1 minute base for the men. And then the same 350s, a 125s red freestyle, and then a 300 IM all out.
Oh my gosh.
And we had a 30-second break after the 300 IM all out. We did that set 3 times.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I am, like I said, I'm not a crier. I was crying after the first round.
Yeah.
After the first round, I was crying. And like I said, like I could train in college. Like I think was maybe the only girl who made the interval for most of the set. Like I don't think I made like maybe the last 2 intervals.
Yeah.
and I was crying. And we finished the 300, and I think I went like 3:18 or something like that. Like I missed the interval like 3 seconds. And John's like, all right, on the 45, next round. I started crying. I was like, I just sprinted for like 15 minutes. You're going to make me do that 2 more times.
Wow. That's awful. Shame on him. Shame on him. Now,
Yes.
John and I were on the Atlanta relay together. He did butterfly. I did freestyle. So he touched the wall and I took off for the prelim. So we share the gold medal.
Yeah.
And I'll have to give him a hard time about that.
Yeah. He and there's some more that were like that. And rounded with 100 IM all out, some more red freestyle IM switch, and then a 200 IM all out, and then some more of that 300 IM, some more IM and freestyle, and then a 400 IM all out at the end of the set. He is notorious for those sets, and they are so hard.
So people sometimes back in the day thought of Auburn and they think sprinters, but that's not, that's tough stuff. That's not sprinter stuff. That's crazy tough stuff.
Yeah, I never saw the light of the day of that Auburn group. I'll tell you that much.
Well, that's cool. Thanks for sharing that set. Well, then what was the transition from Auburn to Indiana? How did you find out about Indiana? I guess obviously they got a breaststroke tradition and you kind of looked further into it and made the switch. Yeah.
So I actually took a year off of swimming when I didn't make the Rio team in 2016. So long story short, I retired for a year, decided to come back to the sport. And I trained with John again for a year before he and I both decided that I should probably be in a place where there's other professionals. That's just would be a better lifestyle for me, both in and out of the pool. So John really helped me a lot find a program that was good for me. He's like a second dad to me. He's amazing. And so he was really close with Mike Westfall, who was at IU when I first got there. And so they talked, and I had already swum there for a week, kind of on like a training camp sort of thing, while John's teams brought NCAAs and stuff like that. So we both decided that would be a good fit for me in order to achieve what I wanted to achieve. Mike talked to Ray, I talked to Lily about it. They gave it the okay. I moved there, and I knew going into it was going to be probably the hardest pro I've ever been a part of, because they do so much of stuff that I'm not good at. A lot of threshold freestyle, aerobic freestyle, short interval stuff, like that stuff that I really go with, especially as a pro as I was getting older. So that's kind of the transition that I made there. John really liked me the best as an athlete. He coached me for 5 years at that point, I think, 4 or 5 years. So he was the one that was like, I really you want to like be, I didn't even have any like aspirations to go to the Olympics or anything like that coming back to the sport after being out of it for a year. I just went as hard as I could and see how good I could get. Yeah. And John said, like, this is the place that I think you will be the most successful.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Now you're wearing your cool new USA jacket, and you just said you didn't think you'd be on the Olympic team or get a medal at the Olympics, but was there something in there in high school and college and the thought, well, just maybe I've got what it takes? That you just kind of were enthralled with the process to see how fast I can go, and you just didn't mind sticking around and keeping training, or a little bit of both?
Yeah. So I think a little bit of both of that. I had a taste of, high level swimming a couple times when I was in college. I made my first national team in college. I won my first international medal in college. So while I already had that competitive drive and that willingness to work hard, I got a little taste of what that success looks like on a national, international stage, which I'm really grateful for. So yeah, when I came back to the sport, I think I had a renewed perspective of the sport, that it can just be taken away from you so quickly. And I feel like I had, a card in my back pocket where I knew what life was like after swimming that not a lot of my competitors had. So I think it was really a benefit to me to be patient with myself when I was coming back to the sport, celebrating all the small successes that I had while I was getting back in shape, even though I knew deep down that like I was swimming slow, but I was better today than I was this time last week. Those two things. And also just like, I just wanted to work as hard as I could and see how good I could be. That was really my main goal. I didn't say I have to make the national this year, or I have to be on funding this year, or I have to make this international team this summer. Like, I did not have any goals like that. I did not want to set the ceiling for myself. I think that's a mentality that I didn't have in high school and college. I was like, I have to make the junior national team in high school. And then in college, I was like, I have to win SECs. I have to, final at NCAAs. I have to make the national team. Like, I had like finite goals that I would meet, and I put pressure on myself to meet those goals, like almost in a negative way. And so, having a renewed perspective coming back into swimming, that was really the thing that drove me the most, that I think I had an advantage of over my competitors, honestly.
Yeah, I love that. It's kind of like, it reminds me of that old quote, choose your hard. The life of a professional swimmer is hard.
Yeah.
But so is life in the real world, working a regular job. That's hard too. So kind of choose your hard.
Yeah, exactly. It sure is. And I just, I can work all my life at a desk or wherever it may be, but I can't swim at this level my whole life. So yeah, that's kind of my hard that I chose for now.
Yeah, I love that. How many years have you been in Indiana now total?
I'm going to my 4th year.
Wow. That's incredible. Real quick. I went to Pan Am's in 95 and I got 3 gold as well. So we shared that.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. Yeah. Ray went to Pan Am's a couple times, and he told me like some wild stories about Pan Am. He loved it. Like, he loved it. He was talking about how they were in Mexico and how a Mexican guy, or maybe Cuba or something, and a Cuban guy won. And like, they literally stopped the whole meet and like paraded him around the pool, like people in the stands did. Like, that is wild.
It was wild. Yeah, he was 91 Cuba, because I knew Ray. Ray and I trained together that year. He moved to Texas. He moved to Texas to train with me that year for 2 years. And so now he was a little bit older. So I was a freshman in college, and he was like, 5 or 6 years older. So anyway, he made the B team to go to Cuba, and I made the C team, World University Games team, that went to England. And so while he was at Cuba, I was at England. But anyway, I love Ray. We got to train together. But yeah, the backstroke guy won, and it was like the whole country stopped and went nuts. It was pretty cool.
Everyone stopped. Like, the crowd paraded him around the pool deck.
Oh yeah,
that's crazy.
They beat the Americans, and it's like the biggest deal in the world. And they were hosting the meet, which is cool. I don't think that's ever happened since. I don't think Cuba's hosted an international event since then that I know
I'd say probably not. No.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so I love that we have the little Pan Am thing together. That's a great meet. I love the interim meets like Pan Am's, and obviously you've been to World Short Course Champs. You were world champion short course meters, so that was cool. And real quick, let's talk about this year, trials and Tokyo. And then obviously everybody knows, which we're very sorry for, the passing of your father, and how you dealt with that. And you knew that he wanted you to keep racing and training and doing well, and you did that. And we're just so proud of you. And that moment in trials in Omaha, that was one of the most exciting moments of the whole meet. Was you and Lily going at it. And I call it your lion roar on the lane line after the race, where you're just like, I did it, and it's like, I did it, Dad. I did it, guys, So I don't know if you can share with us a moment about that, what was going through your head, and, just summarize all that you went through these last months.
Yeah. So that moment, was obviously one I will remember. Everyone remembers that moment for the rest of their lives, making the Olympic team, if you're, fortunate enough to do so. But that moment for me, I don't think you can write it any better than that. I'm being totally honest. For me,
and then it got better at Tokyo too.
Yeah. Sometimes I look back and I'm like, I I did that. You know, and I just attribute that to my environment and my people that I had, that I, you know, obviously, like, I was able to flip. You can never flip the switch on grief. It's not something that sits around and waits for you until you're ready. It just happens when it happens. And it's something that you can't really avoid or put aside. Not that I would ever want to, but, you know, the days where I really felt like I needed help, I feel like I had the perfect combination of people who helped me. And, you know, I'm at a loss for words, and for the people that helped me through that. I had the perfect combination of friends who, I don't think they ever did this, but it almost feels like they all sat down and said, like, this is what I'm bringing to the table for Annie. Like, this is what I am going to do to help her through this. And things that they were all just, things that were so authentic to themselves, you know? So for me, I'm lucky enough to have my partner. He lives in Bloomington as well. And he was with me most of the time until he dropped me off for trials. Like, he's there all the time. And so I was really lucky to have him. I was really lucky to have that group of people where I'd established a family-like experience with them. With Ray, I felt like I could go to him any day with anything I was dealing with, and he would drop everything to do what I needed him to do. And I just felt like I had the perfect combination of people that I could lean on. Yeah. And obviously I did reach a time where I was able to kind of flip that switch a little bit, that emotional switch, and be like, okay, I think I've found this balance between doing what I need to do in the water to prepare myself for Olympic trials and the Olympics, but also, you know, take time for myself to feel what I need to feel and deal what I need to deal with. It's not something that that I can shove to the side. It's not something that I can put away until later. And that took a few weeks for me to get to that point. But again, like, when I wasn't at that point where I could do that, I had amazing people who literally carried me, you know, on the days where I couldn't carry myself. And I can't even put into words how grateful I am for that.
Yeah, that is special. And we talk about that a lot on the Ultimate Swimmer Show, about the power of friends, the power of serving others, and how, you know, when people are caring for you and you're caring for them, that's when the human heart is freed up. The human soul is free, allows the body to be freed up to perform and to heal, to be whole, and to perform at its best. And so I'm so glad you found that. I'm so glad your friends rallied around you. And to be honest, I'm so glad you're willing to share that story of overcoming adversity, dealing with grief, and trying to find that balance. I'm glad you shared your story of, you know, being able to switch environments and learn from each environment you were at, you know, having trained in 3 different college towns and learning everything you can from each place. And then it all culminates in these moments sometimes, like in Tokyo. And, you know, we can't always plan that, but hard work does pay off, and all these little Ultimate Swimmer habits pay off. And sometimes these magical moments happen. And tell us, in your mind, do you remember what you were thinking in the Tokyo race? You know, kind of moving in, especially that last 50, making it happen.
Yeah. So, in that race, like, you know, a lot of people might say, like, oh, that's the perfect time to dedicate, like, a race to, like, your dad or the people who've helped you or anything like that. And, like, that might be true in some senses, but, like, for me, I never felt that kind of pressure to do that. Because number one, I knew I worked hard enough to accomplish what I accomplished. And number two, like, I never needed that kind of validation from him or from my family to, you know, like, my success in the pool didn't define my relationship with my dad or with my family. And that's something that I am so grateful for my family for setting up that kind of perspective for me growing up.
Yeah.
That like swimming wasn't everything. It was something I did. It was something I was really good at. It was something we invested a lot of time in as a family, but it wasn't my whole world, and it wasn't a make or break for my life. And parents did a great job of making sure that I realized that. They were happy with me and celebrated my successes when I succeeded, and they were devastated with me and were the first ones there to console me when I was upset with a race or with a performance or whatever it was. So going into the race, I felt no pressure to fulfill this Cinderella story or anything like that. I just felt like I was there to represent my country and do what I love. And I felt probably, obviously you're always nervous for a race like that, but I feel like I, was so at peace with everything that I had already accomplished, without feeling like, oh, I'm already at the Olympics. Like I don't need to perform now. Like I still wanted to perform and succeed. So, race, I knew it was going to be a mental gauntlet because I was next to a girl who was knocking on the door of a world record. And I was next to Lily, who takes out way faster than I do. So I feel like training with Lily, I obviously didn't know she was going to go 2:19, but like training with Lily the last few years has mentally trained me for this situation. Like I was ready for it because I'm so used to just literally seeing her whole entire body in front of me after the first 50. Like I'm used to that.
You didn't freak out. You're like, I've seen this before.
I didn't freak out. I knew what was going to happen and I was prepared for it. So when that scenario happened and we were at the 50 and Lily was 2 body lengths ahead of us, and the 100, and Tatiana was on world record pace. I didn't know that obviously at the time, but she was. I didn't freak out. I was like, okay, I'm in a good spot. I can see the girl from Russia who swims the exact same race as me. We are at the same place. So I know I'm having a decent swim, at least. I'm in a good spot. So I hit the last 50 and I saw her again on the last turn, and we obviously swim the same race. I know she's not going to die, just like she knows I'm not going to. And I'm like, oh boy, like unless Lily really, really dies and I'm fighting for second, like this is third place right here.
Yeah. So
like, let's dig deep and figure it out, because this girl's not going to die and she's 10 years younger than you. So she's got a lot more on you. So that's all I remember is I hit the last turn and I was like, sorry, girlie, you got at least 3 more Olympics in you. Like, I got to take this medal.
I love it.
It's so crazy. That's like the only part of the race that I remember was hitting that last turn and being like, yeah, sorry, girl. Like, you're 10 years younger than me. Like, this is my medal. And so
you can't let the high schoolers steal your medal. You can't let
I was like, sorry, girl. You probably got a couple more of these like in your belt in the future. Like this one. So I touched that wall and I got bronze, and like, again, just like my experience in high school with my teammate who had this amazing swim in, a less significant race, obviously, than an Olympic final. To see Lily have the swim of her life 2 days after she obviously may not put it in these words, but just devastated and just so down on herself over, relinquishing a title she'd been so dominant in the last 5 years, to very much underperform in that race, to not feel like she was on in these Olympics, to 2 days later dropping a 1.5 seconds from her best time and getting a silver medal in a race that she has struggled with the last 4 years, really mentally struggled with. So to see her finally have that swim that she has been ready to have for a couple years now, was on top of just the resilience and the rebound that she proved over those, like that 3-day time span, the way that she was able to turn it around, just made that moment if it couldn't get any more sweet, like even better, you know? So yeah, that was obviously a moment I will never forget. Just having just this overwhelming joy for her and for just like this like this just otherworldly experience that she and I had been through the last 3.5 years, the last 1.5 years with the pandemic, the last, 3-4 months with my dad. Just so many layers to that story to put into a 2-minute race is pretty indescribable.
Yeah. Thanks for taking us back to that week and just giving some insight into what she was going through and what you were going through. And yeah, so hats off to you for being tough these last years, especially this year and these last few months. And hard to believe it's been 2 months now since that moment. But and then that's cool that Lily, I'm glad you shared with us about Lily being able to overcome, because she did really a good job on TV celebrating Lydia and did a great job celebrating you, but I hats off to her for that. Well, we're now talking to you from ISL Italy, the first season 3. You're back in Naples, Italy. And just give us a quick snapshot of some of the highlights. It looks like y'all are training and having a good time. The race, it's good to be back racing. You're on a great team. So give us the lowdown in Italy.
Yeah, so I'm representing London Roar for the second time. I love representing London Roar because it gives me such a contrast to what I literally just went from screaming USA every day now to representing a team from Great Britain.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. I joined this team. Love my team from USA Swimming. But this is such a once in a lifetime experience. I wanted to be able to meet new people and have friends from all over the world. And last year I trained with Mel Marshall, who's Adam Peaty's coach, and I wanted to learn from her. And so it was just an opportunity I couldn't say no to. So I'm super full that I was saved this year in the draft. So I'm on the team again this year. I love being on this team. It's awesome. So we just had our first last week, and we got second behind Energy Standard. With you have 12 women's spots and 12 men's spots, and they have 2 people for relays only. So that makes 14 people you're allowed to have. And this past weekend we raced with 10 girls, and we still got second.
Oh, that's good.
So, yes, and so we've just brought in Emma McKeon and Kyle Chalmers. Just got here yesterday, so we'll have them to come in this weekend, which is great because they're like 2 of the best sprinters in the world. So that's exciting. So we have them coming in, and then when we get off, we'll have many more people, Olympic champions coming back with us, and all that good stuff. So our team's really good. Like, we're really, really well. And but this is kind of reminding me of that summer club swimming experience. Just like enjoying this time with friends that I don't get to see throughout the school year, that I only see in the summer. Having that experience and having people experience, like, from Britain and from all over the world, like, who didn't have the NCAA experience, like, or who swim for smaller countries and don't have that big team experience at the Olympics or World Championships or whatever. Having them experience like a real team environment where you're scoring points for your team. It's so cool to see people experience that for the first time. Like, wow, like, I just love this team so much, and I will do anything for this team. And it's really amazing to see people experience that first time, because not a lot of people on this team have experienced the NCAA or are on, whatever. So it's awesome. It's really bringing back that, because the Olympics are amazing, but they're very intense. So, and Olympic trials are even more intense. So it's really nice to come off of that intensity and be in a part where it's like we swim fast and they're still racing, but this is the really fun part of the sport.
Yeah, I love that. Swimming provides the best of the individual aspect, where we can determine our destiny and, take our sport individually as far as we want, but we also get the benefit of being part of a team, ideally, at many times too, which I love. So I'm glad you're able to do that. Last question. We do lightning round of your favorite things, and then we'll let you get back to sleep and training in beautiful Italy. So real quick, favorite color?
Favorite color? I wear a lot of navy blue, honestly. A lot of navy blue.
I love that sweatshirt, by the way. Anyway.
Isn't it so cool? I love it. Yeah.
And then favorite breaststroke race. I'm assuming it's the 200, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I am the long course 200. Short course 200 is a lot of not breathe. It's very hard for me. So I would say long course 200 the most, but like my 100 long course has elevated so much the last couple of years that I'm like starting a bit more because I'm starting to figure out how to swim it.
Yeah. Favorite food or dessert or food item? Anything, either one?
Ooh. Gosh, it's so hard to narrow it down because I'm very much like I'm not a picky eater. There's very few foods I don't like. So I've been eating a lot of pizza here. So like I guess right now I'll say pizza, but that'll probably change like next week when I'm on like my 6th pizza and I'm like I'm sick of this.
It's the birthplace of pizza, and it's
there's literally nice thin crust. There's literally 5 pizza places on every street.
I know. I got to teach in Naples the last few summers before COVID, and I just loved it. Just loved it.
Yeah, amazing.
Favorite pool you've ever raced in?
Favorite pool I've ever swam in? This isn't very lightning. I'm sorry that I'm not doing a very good job of this fast. I won my first junior nationals at the Orlando YMCA, and I just always loved going to that pool and swimming there. Yeah. So I would say it's a really crappy pool. So that one or the IUPUI Aquarium, the Nat and Indy. Those are my two.
Yeah. The big Nat is where I made my Olympics. And then, the old Orlando pool is fun. I swam there one time. I won nationals there one time too. That was fun. Long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
Favorite city you've ever been to for swimming or touristy? Just a favorite city to visit for tourism or racing?
Oh, okay. So for tourism, so my Brazilian. So I've been down to Rio de Janeiro with him, and I love Rio. So that's probably my favorite place I've visited for tourism. For swimming, I'd say though, I really loved Budapest. Budapest is amazing. Budapest is amazing. I love going. We used to go to Santa Clara for pro swims every year. I loved going there too. So those are my places that I think I like the most.
Yeah, those are two good ones.
Yeah.
And favorite band? Do you have a favorite music genre or favorite band that comes to mind?
So I'm a little all over the place, but I'd say my favorite constant band that I like is a good go-to for me always is Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's my favorite.
Oh, that's so fun. I grew up on them in high school and college. So.
I saw them in concert a couple of years ago, and it just like was a bucket list thing for me. It was amazing.
They still bring it.
Yeah, they do.
And last one, favorite book or movie or just fun entertainment kind of thing. If you had a book or a movie that you like. Yeah,
my favorite movie is probably Forrest Gump. My favorite book, I would probably have to think about that one because books are so like there's so many different ways you can go with books. Probably have to think about that one before like maybe if I come on another time, I'll give you that answer. We'll ask you that next time. Well, Annie, good luck in Italy. And so it looks like you might stick around for a year or two more racing professionally. And hopefully, if my body lets me, we're getting a little old, so things are starting to get a little creaky, but hopefully I'm loving it still. So I want to keep doing it as long as I love it, honestly. And real quick, you're still with Tier, correct? Still with Tier. Yes. That's cool. A shout out to any other sponsors that you have. Any other sponsors you have right now? Are you? Tier's been amazing to me, especially throughout this last year. They signed me in February, and then I obviously went through all this stuff with my dad in April and May, and like with all my obligations with them on social media and stuff like that, they said like, please do not worry about it. Like you come back to social media when you're ready, which was amazing because like that's a hard thing. Like you need to put on this front on social media when like in reality things aren't okay. Like a lot of people do that. And so Tier was amazing to me throughout this whole year. Super grateful to them for believing in me and I have a sponsor at home with a dealership in Detroit because Detroit's the home of cars. So I have a sponsor with a car dealership, Matic Chevrolet and Toyota. They put together this amazing parade for me when I got home of like 500 people. So that was awesome. And they put together like a little ceremony at my summer club back at home across the street where I grew up swimming. So Matic Chevrolet did all of that. So I'm super grateful to them.
Thank you for sharing us your stories and your life in swimming, and for being a great ambassador and a great ultimate swimmer. And we'll be cheering on London Roar, just mainly because you're on it. But wish you all the best this year, and we can't wait to see you around a pool again soon.
Thanks, Josh. Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this Ultimate Swimmer podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing from these Olympians and life champions and how certain habits and decisions help them on their journey, and they can help you too. If there is an Ultimate Swimmer from your team that you would like to nominate that we can recognize on our show, just email me at josh@joshdavis.com. That's josh@joshdavis.com. And tell us about how your Ultimate Swimmer is making a difference in your swimming community. And that's the goal, to make a difference and swim with purpose. Not only are you getting better, but you're helping those around you get better too. When you realize you were born for the water, born for greatness, and born to serve others, you are on your way to becoming an ultimate swimmer. I'm Josh Davis. Until next time, keep streamlining and keep smiling. See you around the pool soon.